Good morning, everybody. I'm Julie from Jaguar White Recruitment. It's a really hot, sunny day today out there, so a bit of a smile on my face today. I have a recruitment company based in St.Albans, and I specialise in office and operational support staff around Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. I also help people with CV reviews, interview coaching, etc. And I'm doing a series of talks with dynamic duos over the next week with inspirational businesswomen that I feel have expert advice to help people in this market at the moment, employment, unemployment. So today I have a very good friend, colleague, coach, superstar, Debbie Gilbert with me, and she's a marketeer. She's been a marketeer for 20 years. She's in a marketing events business, and she has been helping people with LinkedIn for around 11 years. It's very, very important at the moment to me and to everybody out there how important LinkedIn is to get on a great profile along with your CV. So I'd like to introduce Debbie, as she's going to help us share some top tips with us today. So Debbie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, thanks, Julie. That's really kind of you. Yeah. So I started running LinkedIn training about 11 years ago. Not long after LinkedIn had started. It's been running for a couple of years then. And lots of people were coming to me to ask for help and said, oh, you know, how do I get the best out of you using this? I can see you posting all the time, what you're doing. So started running courses, and then eventually job seekers were coming to me and saying, I'm struggling to get a job. My recruitment agency has told me I need to look at my LinkedIn. And started working with people on the job search, and it's been amazing because lots of the people that I've worked with have got some amazing success stories about how really enhancing your LinkedIn profile can actually help you get that dream job.
Absolutely. And in today's market, you will get looked up on LinkedIn. So if you haven't got a profile, you absolutely need one. Anyone you ask will tell you that, that's in recruitment or any kind of career advisory service. So it's important to have one. If you've got one and it's not up to date, then try and get some tips from Debbie on what helps you stand out to be seen by search, or just have that profile out there when you're looking.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things I can share with you today. The first thing is your headline on LinkedIn. So that's the bit underneath your name. And a lot of people obviously have, it defaults to your, let's say, admin assistant at Joe Blogg's car warehouse or whatever it might be. What you actually need to do is fill that headline with some keywords. So thinking about your specific skills and highlighting those rather than the title of the job that you've currently got. So have a little think about some of the things that you do and think words that describe what you do, and using some of those. And if you don't really know what you want to put there, have a look at the job descriptions of the jobs that you're applying for, and then add those keywords in. And that takes you down to the summary area as well. Again, sitting there thinking about all of the things that really revolve around the functions that you carry out and the skills that you've got. And, you know, Julie's running a really useful course on CV writing, and some of those, some of that stuff that you build up from writing your CV, you can translate, because technically your LinkedIn profile is an online CV. So, you know, that information you can then use from the CV writing into LinkedIn, because what I see a lot of is people just don't make any effort on their LinkedIn profiles. They just put a couple of little sentences, and they might put a couple of jobs that they've had. They don't put enough information, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute and why that's so important. The profile picture should be professional, not you sitting in your garden with your sunglasses on, or with your child on your knee, or standing in front of Empire State Building. I mean, I've seen it all. And or a cartoon image. Somebody I worked with thought it was hilarious to put a picture of Family Guy as their profile picture. Well, a prospective employer, if they looked at that, would think, you're not really taking yourself too seriously, are you? And not having a profile picture means as well that you're not going to come up so high in search. So you need a profile picture. And, you know, I would always advise someone to spend a little bit of money and have a professional shot done. But if you can't afford that, then just have a photograph taken in your home of you dressed smartly in front of a blank wall. That's,
Sure.
Get someone to take it for you. Selfies don't tend to work so well because most people can tell that they're selfies.
Mm-hmm.
Really important as well to build your network. So, 50 connections on LinkedIn is not going to help you get a job. I think it's really important to expand your network as much as you can. LinkedIn recommends you go for at least 500 connections, and really think about the people that are asking to connect up with you on LinkedIn. So you'll probably get loads of connection requests, but filter them down and have your own criteria. So my criteria is to connect up with people in the UK, business owners in the UK. But your criteria might be slightly different. So you need to come up with your own criteria for the people that you're going to accept as connections. You don't know who you don't know. So just because you get a connection request from someone you don't know, then there's no reason to reject that connection. It's really important to build it. You can follow companies that you'd like to work for. So you can find lists through the search facility on LinkedIn and actually go and follow them. They will probably have a company page. Follow the company page. Often companies will put job vacancies on there, or you might get a feel for the fact they've won a new contract. Potentially they're going to be recruiting. So good way to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the industries that you're interested in working in. The final sort of tip really I think I would give to people is really maximise the summary properly and really showcase all your skills and all your achievements. And alongside that, there is a box for skills further down on the profile. So make sure those skills are your skills, because often LinkedIn will, when you set up your profile, will automatically put some skills into the profile for you. And people don't realise that's what it does. So then you need to go in and make sure that those are the skills that you want to be known for, because those are the skills that are going to be looking for recruitment agencies. And then alongside that is your recommendations. So think about who you've worked for before and ask for recommendations from not only the boss or the owner, but you could also ask for people you've worked with. So you've been part of a team. Send them a request to recommend you. How do you work as a team, as a team player? What are your skills and strengths as part of that team? So those are the main things. And, some of the things about how far back should you go in terms of employment history. Well, unlike a CV, which Julie talks about keeping it on 2 pages and only going back a certain time, my advice on LinkedIn is to go back as far as you want to go back, because I'll give you 2 examples, because I think examples really highlight this. So one guy I was working with said to me, I haven't put my university on LinkedIn. I went to university 25 years ago, got an engineering degree, haven't bothered to put it on there. And I said, you need to put it on there, because you just never know who you went to university with, who they know. And LinkedIn will automatically look for commonality. So it will look for people who did that degree, people who went to that university, and it will suggest them as connections. And he was like, well, all right, then I'll put it in. Reluctantly puts it in. Anyway, we worked on his LinkedIn profile, got it up to date, all looking amazing. And about 3 weeks later, he called me and he went, oh my goodness, I had to ring you, because that one piece of advice you gave me has given me a new job. And I was like, what bit of advice was it? He said, do you remember I poo-pooed putting my university on there? And I said, oh yeah, I do actually, because he was quite resistant to do it. And he said, what happened then? I got a couple of suggested connections. A guy that I was on this course with, this engineering degree course. And I thought, oh God, I haven't seen him for like 20 years, 25 years or whatever. I connected up with him. And he sent me a message, said, hi mate, how are you getting on? What are you up to? And he said, well, I've just been made redundant. I'm looking for a new job. And he was like, oh my God, we have a job right here in our company. It'd be perfect for you. Shall we have a chat? So they had a chat. He then went for an interview and he got the job.
Amazing.
And that's the first one I'll share with you. The second one is think about some of the specialised stuff that you do. So again, working with someone on their LinkedIn profile who did a very, very specific piece of code that not many developers use. And he was like, oh yeah, but people won't understand that. And I said, but the people searching for that code understand that. And if it's something you do that's quite specific, that is so worth putting into your profile because you just don't know. So reluctantly, again, he was like, oh, okay. So he put it into the headline and he put it into the body, into the summary. And he also put it under you know, where you list out the skills when you're working for a business. You list out what you've what your role is and what you've done. And he got offered a job with Google on the back of that. So Google had gone into LinkedIn and searched for that code, and his profile came up, and he got offered a job in Seattle with Google. So
That's just amazing.
you know what? Your LinkedIn profile will be indexed by Google. And if you've got the right keywords in there, you could get that during job just for that. But more importantly, if a recruitment agency is putting you forward for a role, the chances are that, and this is talking not just about LinkedIn, but other social media platforms, the chances are anyone sitting with their CV in front of them that maybe Julie sent them, they are still going to look you up on LinkedIn and probably other social media channels. So how you look on LinkedIn is so important. And it might be that you have mutual connections with the company that you're going to be potentially going for an interview for. So it gives them the opportunity to think, oh, okay, that person is connected to so-and-so, or that person worked for a company that I worked for many years ago. There might be somebody that knows that person.
Yeah.
So that's really why I think it's so important. But also with your other social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, lock down your privacy settings when you're looking for a job. If you've got pictures of yourself, you know, out with your friends getting drunk, or you're someone who likes to participate in maybe kind of extreme sports, you know, maybe that would look so attractive to a potential employer if they thought that you were skydiving on a regular basis or something. So I just think lock down your privacy settings. Instagram, you can lock it down so that only the people that you're connected to can see it. Same with Facebook, lock down your privacy settings on there so that only the people that you're connected to can see it. And again, the same with Twitter. If you are searching for a job and you're in the market to try and get employed, you can unlock those settings later on down the line. I think lock them down. If you've got stuff, I mean, obviously, if you don't have stuff like that, then don't worry about it. But certainly, you know, I've worked with people, I've done searches. If I work with anyone on their LinkedIn profiles to help them, I actually do a Google search on them and show them what I can find out about them. And they're always a bit shocked. And if you're somebody, let's say you're very opinionated politically, and you're putting your political opinions on Twitter, or you're putting up pictures all over the internet that aren't particularly show you in a great light, might be great for your mates and great for, you know, that kind of thing. But actually, you know, really think about what your digital footprint is and what you look like to anybody who Googles your name. So I think that's really important, and most people don't check that. And when they are confronted with it, they're a bit like, oh goodness, I didn't know that even existed. I didn't know that my friend had tagged me in that picture when I'm on the floor outside a bar. So hopefully that's given you a few tips. Julie and I are going to run an actual proper formal CV writing and LinkedIn workshop so that you can harness the power of LinkedIn with your job search and get your CV right, because I think that's the first thing. Get the CV right, put the right information in there, and then I can help you in the second part of the course work on all the functionality on LinkedIn and all the things that you need to think about. So hopefully that's been useful.
It's been extremely useful, and I know this because I've listened to you many times, but it's always great to hear great reminders, and I'm sure lots of people will get some amazing tips from it. I just have like one major word to say: keywords, keywords, keyword search, because not only on the job boards, but through LinkedIn, it's all about the information you have on there. And like you said, Debbie, it's about being known for the expertise that you want to be known for. So without that, you are going to miss out on opportunities. And CV and your LinkedIn profile are both professional documents. One's online, one's offline and online, but the professional documents. So just be professional and give yourself the best chance of actually getting that interview. So hopefully with the tips of the CV review workshop I did, with your LinkedIn tips and what we're going to do together, we're going to just keep rolling it out and helping people out there. This sort of increasing everybody's employability status going forward. And not only just with this, we've had Carol Hanson on last week talking about how to dress confidently at interview. We're going to have an external trainer if you need extra training. So there's sort of lots going on. We've actually got a bit of an anxiety coach as well coming on. So people are feeling a bit nervous at the moment about things and spiraling down. So we've got somebody like that as well. So we've got some great tips. But back to us, we will be posting the date that we're doing the duo training. It's probably going to be mid-June by the time we get it out there together, because we're both sort of busy doing other things. But anything else you'd like to say in terms of any big clangers not to do on LinkedIn? One big one, Debbie. Not to do.
Same as your CV. Don't lie. Don't put down that you were a managing director if you were an admin assistant, or the stuff that I see and I talk to people about, and I'm like, I think really, and the profile picture I think is quite important. Yeah. And don't put skills in that you don't have, because you'll get caught out with that. So I think it's really important to be very factual and very honest.
I had a question on Friday about that at the end, because I mentioned about not lying on your CV as one of my sort of tips. And she came on at the end and she went, I wanted to ask you a question about the lying. If you've got the skills, but not many of them, is it lying putting them on your CV? And actually it's not lying. You've got the skills, so put them on there. When you get to the interview, you can actually explain the in-depth skills that you have, or if they need enhancing, and then that's up to the interviewer to decide. But she was sort of saying, oh, I've only got a little bit of experience, but I have got it. So yeah, but definitely don't lie. Don't put anything on that's not true.
Lie. And I think one of the other things people ask me, which I guess they ask you as well, is that they'd had a bad experience with an employer. Do they still put that on LinkedIn? If it's going to look like a massive gap on LinkedIn, you know, what I've seen a lot of is people then extend the job that they've now got, so that they're basically, if you've got a gap, say you've got fired or you had a bad experience, whatever it was, and you walked out or something, and you then extend the time that you were at the previous job and extend the time in your current role, so that those two match up, so you're almost disappearing. You're using a vanishing trick. I'd be really careful about doing that, because when they come to ask for references or come to do checks, depending on how far back it is, then you could come unstuck with that, and then you're into, well, that company said you only worked there up until then, and this company saying that. So you got to be a bit careful. I mean, if it's a long time ago, I was working with somebody that had this problem about 15 years ago, and they did get fired, but they felt that it wasn't really that fair, the dismissal, and it was more a clash of they clashed with their line manager, who then create, you know, the scenarios that you get. Eventually they got fired for sort of coming in 10 minutes late, and they hadn't followed proper procedure, and he just felt he didn't want to take it to tribunal and start a whole legal, he just wanted to cut his losses and run. But he had worked there for about 18 months, and in those circumstances I don't think there's any harm in just tweaking it a little bit. But I think you've got to be very careful with anything in the last 5 years, that if you've had an issue, you're better off to be transparent, I think.
Absolutely. I would always say, just be honest.
Be honest.
Talk about it up front, and then focus on the positives and the skills you've got to offer. So just sort of think, I'm going to talk about this. I really need to address it, because there's no point in not. But make sure that you fill it with positive.
Exactly. And I think it's much better to be open and honest with things. Most people are going to look at your employment history for the last 2 or 3 jobs anyway. They're not going to be that bothered about what you did 15 or 20 years ago. That's right. It's about the relevancy of your skills now. You know, your loyalty, reliability, and all of those things come into play. And that's why having recommendations from your colleagues are just as important as recommendations from line managers, because actually it's quite nice to read what you're like to work with, as opposed to what you're like, you know, as an employee from the line manager's perspective, but actually what are you like as a team player? And often your colleagues are the best people to talk about that. Yeah. And I think it's really good to have that on your LinkedIn profile. And
employers definitely want to get to know a little bit about the candidate as well. So anything that's going to help you stand out at the moment, there's going to be lots of candidates out there looking for jobs, you know, absolutely go for it. Now, you actually do one-to-one LinkedIn CV reviews as well.
I do. And obviously normally charge £150 for that service, but I recognise at the moment we're in a situation where these aren't people changing jobs because they want to improve their career. People are unemployed, and so they're looking for a new opportunity. Now, I do 2 levels. One is a review service where I'll just look through the profile and tell you what you need to do, and you go away and do it. And I would happily do that for £50 plus VAT. And the second option is to maybe work with me online for about an hour and a half, going through things, looking for ways that you could look for work and the things that you might need to do to your profile in a bit more detail, and maybe some of it I help you write. And I would do that for £75 plus VAT. So those are the 2 services I'm offering at the moment. But normally for working with me for a couple of hours, you know, it's only £150. But at the moment, I appreciate that a lot of people aren't in a situation where they've chosen to be in the job market. They just need support and advice, and everybody's different. So we're going to run this course, which will be we haven't finalized the pricing yet, but it won't be high cost. It'll be fairly low cost, and that'll be more generic, so there won't be specifics on the course. We'll be able to answer questions, and that will cover all the things that you need to go away and think about and do. But I think if people work in particular industries where they feel they need more help and support and more ideas, you know, marketing a business is no different to marketing a person. And you know, the good recruitment agents behind you, like Julie and me, you know, we can help market you the best possible way. And as I said earlier, online, you need that online footprint needs to look crystal, really clear, lots of clarity. But also, you know, if you are an expert in a particular industry. So I was coaching somebody last year who worked in the area of, this is going to make you laugh in a way, but it's not funny, but porter cabins. So she worked for a company that made these porter cabins that you see at shows, you know, like horse shows or outdoor shows. And companies use the porter cabin as a place to sit and have sales conversations, and they decorated them up and you can bespoke them, you know. And she wanted to change jobs and was looking, obviously there's not huge numbers of jobs in that industry, but was looking at the various roles potentially that were out there. And we used the techniques I talked about earlier, following companies that she knew did that service. And then I said to her, why don't you write an article about some of the stuff you've learned about the best way to use these porter cabins to gain more business on the day, you know, to get people into the porter cabins to have sales discussions with. And she wrote a brilliant article. And from that, she'd been following this company, they'd seen the update, she'd connected up with a couple of people from this company she wanted to work with, and they'd seen her article, and they actually contacted her and said, you know, we're looking for somebody that's got your knowledge, because it's so specialised, and we thought your article was brilliant. Can we have a conversation with you?
And that again would have been from a keyword search probably, and what she's written in it. So it's all about being found.
Well, I think she'd come from using the hashtags, and she'd come to their attention because they were following the hashtags of these particular search terms, and it would have come up in their feed. And like you said, she's used the right keywords and the right hashtags, and she's literally come to that attention. So you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm just an admin assistant, I'm just a payroll clerk, I'm just a credit control clerk. But actually, if you've got knowledge that you've built up of a particular industry, then share it on LinkedIn, write an article, write a post, and put yourself out there as somebody who knows what they're talking about. So it might be just little tricks that you've learned that make your job easier, or things that you feel companies could do better in terms of managing whatever it is, whatever administrative role that you had. I mean, if you look at PAs, for example, loads of PAs share posts about sites they find useful, companies they use to help their day-to-day roles. So all of that is expert knowledge, and you can share that on LinkedIn on a post.
It's interesting you say these little things that you might not know. I call them golden nuggets. Through my CV reviews and my interview coaching, it's full of golden nuggets that I feel are missed out, and there's so many more golden nuggets to find out about LinkedIn from you, Debbie. So thanks for sharing a few of them, but there's going to be lots more. So we've got options for one-to-ones at 2 levels for Debbie. Debbie and I are going to be doing a CV review LinkedIn course together, which I said is going to be a bit more low cost due to the situation at the moment, but you will gain a lot of valuable information to get you out there and get noticed. So watch this space for our information, and thank you so much for joining me today, Debbie. As always, could listen to you all day, but we'll save that for the course. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Thanks, Deb. Bye.
Bye.